Pickle, let's go to the hotline. A man who stays busy this time of year and will be especially busy this week is the man who joins us on the phone line now. Pleased to be joined by the Hall of Famer, Craig Way. Craig, are you stocking up on sleep during the week now?
You know, it's funny. I thought about that this morning. I got to sleep a little bit this morning. I thought, okay, Tuesday may be the worst travel day in Austin, but for getting some sleep, that's okay. So it was a good trade-off there. So I'm feeling rested and ready to roll.
Among your challenges this week or tasks this week will be that you will be on the call for the Big 12 championship game this Saturday morning at 11 a.m. at AT&T Stadium as the Texas Longhorns take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. It's just funny how it works that Texas was not scheduled to play Oklahoma State this year, just in the scheduling arrangement. Now they get them in the biggest game of the year. I'm curious. I know you guys have been digging into it on your show, on the Craig Way Show on AM 1300 The Zone in Austin. What are you in particular going to be watching for in this game as far as what Texas needs to do to come out with a Big 12 title?
Well, you and I and Pickle got really well acquainted a few years ago with Mr. Ollie Gordon when he was a Trinity Trojan. When he played about everything, didn't he? Started off like a wide receiver, then a running back, then a quarterback. He did just about everything there, and he's kind of everything to that offense. It's not to say that if they contain him, they'll completely shut Oklahoma State down, but they'll take away the biggest weapon if they can contain him, which is easier said than done. That said, they did a good job against Tosh Brooks, the Maynard product who was running for Texas Tech. They've done a good job, obviously, against the run this year. But this guy's on a little bit different level, I think, than some of the backs they face. So I think that's the number one task the Longhorns is to be able to, not necessarily stop him, but be able to keep him from having a huge game while the Texas offense tries to make sure it has a really solid game. I think that's job one is the way I'm looking at it.
Craig Way, the Texas Football Hall of Famer, joins us here at Texas Football Today. We'll talk a little high school football. There are 88 UIL Texas high school football teams remaining. There will be 44 after this week, and 4 will have already punched their ticket in the six-man state championship games, to the six-man state championship games. Of those 88 teams remaining, which of them, and you can name 2 or 3 if you'd like, which of them would you categorize as the biggest surprise, the ones that you are most surprised and have advanced to this point? Oh, he said to himself. See, this is the problem. Craig always does his interview in the phone or in the car.
In the car.
We're gonna call him back.
Yeah, let's just leave it on live.
Let's see. We're gonna call him. This is live. It's live. Everyone who doubted that this show was live.
Now it's
here. I am.
There we go.
We found him.
All right. Did you hear my question? Do I need to repeat it?
I think I heard it. I think you said.
Oh no!
Consider to be the biggest surprise, I believe, of the ones
Correct.
that who are still alive in this state championship push.
Yeah. Which of the 88 teams would you consider to be? Are you most surprised are still here? That can be relative to what they've done in the regular season. That can be relative to what we thought in the preseason. Dealer's choice on that.
I see. Well, I would say probably that. There's 2 or 3, I think, of the lower classifications that have kind of raised an eyebrow a little bit by what they've done. Jacksboro is a great story, I think, in 3AD too. If you go to the higher classifications, maybe, we saw, for what Panther Creek did last week before getting knocked out was a really good run for them, and they had to lose basically on a Hail Mary in order to make that thing work. So I think, there's probably now when we're getting down to Elite Eights, we're probably getting the ones that we thought might be there. Lake Travis, obviously, by virtue of winning over Vandergrift in my district, which very few people thought would happen, then to get on a roll might not shock people to this point. But I said this last Saturday night, I think the biggest story of the year now emerging is Brownsville Veterans Memorial. Simply because they are the first Brownsville school to reach the Elite Eight or reach into that quarterfinal round. And I think that is a great story. And I think it's the biggest surprise of the year. If I were to pick one out of all of those, I would say that would be number one.
There are a number of rematches this week, which is not surprising. I think there's more than there have been in past years, but a good number of rematches this week, including Lake Travis and Westlake, San Antonio Piper and Liberty Hill, Tyler Chapel Hill, Kilgore, etc. The North Shore Tascasita is a rematch. How do you, whenever you're like taking a look at some of these games, including you're going to be on the call for one of them on Bally Sports on Friday night or Saturday night with Byron Nelson and South Lake Carroll, how do you balance the two things that exist in our brain, which is, one, it's hard to beat a good team twice, but also this team has already beaten the other team. Why shouldn't history repeat itself? How do you measure those two teams against one another?
Well, it's funny because when we look at what the computer is saying about it, we're looking at the fact that all of those favorites, I think, are favored. All of the teams that won the first time around are favored the second time around, or it's really, really close, maybe a point or two on the second time around. My question is, and I know we were talking about with regard to Cedar Hill last week, how much did they learn from the first one? How much did they learn about each other? And I think that's the case. Lake Travis is a bit of a different team than they were when they played Westlake the last time, with Chaston Ditta really on a roll now. So I think that's a different look. So the question is, how much of a different look is it for some of these teams in dealing with the team that beat them, and maybe in some cases beat them handily? Of course, in the first matchup between Westlake and Lake Travis, it was a real competitive ball game well into the fourth quarter. So I would say, how much did you learn from the first game? Did Cedar Hill learn enough to be competitive against DeSoto this time around? Those kinds of things is what rolls through my mind.
It's now the meanest thing we do to each other each week, which is I'm going to give you 3 games that you can teleport to this weekend for a regional final matchup. Do you go Thursday to Iowa Park to watch Albany and Collinsville? Do you go, let's say, or do you go to Pasadena on Saturday to watch North Shore versus Atascocita Volume 2? Or, and this may be the winner here, do you go to North Richland Hills, to the Birdville Fine Arts and Athletic Complex, to watch Stephenville and Anna? Which of those 3 are you teleporting to?
Well, I think I might want to keep my powder dry for Stephenville Brownwood next week if they both win, because we know what that's going to mean if it's happening. Could I go off the grid and and do a different one?
You can.
How about Dangerfield Newton?
Yeah, I'm very interested in that one.
Down in the Tomato Bowl, I'm really intrigued by that matchup, and that should be a lot of fun. I think Chilton Falls City will be a good matchup. I like that one an awful lot. But if I were picking, and you said you could only have one, and by the way, the game we're doing is not chopped liver.
Oh my goodness, no.
It should be an awful lot of fun. And by the way, I think Emerson and Colleyville Heritage will be a lot of fun. I think those two will put on a show. But of the choices, and then going off the grid, what you mentioned, my selection would be, if I could, would be Dangerfield Newton.
He's Craig Way. He's a Texas High School Ball Hall of Famer. You can hear him on the Craig Way Show, 2 to 4 p.m. on AM 1300 The Zone in Austin. You can see him on High School Scoreboard Live Saturday night, immediately following him calling Byron Nelson and South Lake Carroll on Bally Sports. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and I will see you this weekend.
Look forward to it, Tap. Pickle, thank you.
There he goes. Craig Way, Texas High School Ball Hall of Famer. Joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football
TUESWAYS.
Today. So I'm thinking about this. Next week's probably going to be the last Tuesdays. Tuesdays with Craig Way.
No.
Might be, because we normally don't do a show the Tuesday before state, because we got to do.
Yeah, we're not going to.
We got to tear down this whole bad boy and get it up to AT&T Stadium. So.
But
then we might be able to do one afterwards.
Yeah, we usually do a
like
Craig
the
recap.
22nd or something. I think that's a Tuesday, 21st. Whatever. 20th?
I don't know.
It's early this year.
I think it's the 20th.
Anyway, but at least in season next week's probably the last
That's
one.
fair, but to make my heart feel better, when Craig departs and doesn't talk to us anymore, that means the return of Math Tuesday. And then when I get really sad about Math Tuesday going away, I remember that Craig is coming. So
no matter what, Tuesday's pretty good.
Tuesdays rock.
Tuesdays are pretty good. We've tried to make the worst day of the week the best day of the week.
I still stand by Tuesday not being that bad.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.